Okay, guys, let's talk about the rest of the break-in story. So here's the recap. These things happened. And then these things happened. And now this happened, or is about to happen.
Cha cha cha.
All right. We're all caught up. I don't know if that's gonna work. Yeah, I'm trying to edit my videos now, so hopefully that worked. We'll find out in the post edit. If you're watching this, then it must have worked. So let's go. So the meeting has been arranged for these now confirmed Xbox Ones, no controllers, no power cables or power brick. Again, the crazy part of that is like the systems are pretty new, so you can't get like aftermarket power bricks and stuff very easily. You can't get first party power bricks very easily. And these power bricks, like, if you lost it, like your best bet was to pay like upwards of like $50 to $100 a piece to get them. I mean, if you could find them, which again you couldn't. That really kills the value, plus like the hassle and everything. So that's why we were really like, wow, this is gonna be really difficult to sell. Never mind that, like, what happened to the power brick on both of them? It's freaking weird. So again, this seller kind of got around the obvious issue that like lots of people are looking for these products or this stolen stuff now. So the way he got around it was posting the PlayStation, it's PlayStation 4s, hoping that whoever would contact him would also be interested in Xbox Ones, but maybe wouldn't be like one of the people kind of looking for it.
The perfect crime.
That was his hope. And again, Jarrett mentioned that like the dude seemed really um like he was nervous. He ended up not canceling, fortunately for us. Jarrett was able to kind of play it cool and convince him that like, no, he just likes buying all sorts of video game stuff. So like, yeah, well, let's buy it. So they agreed to meet at Destiny USA, where all legitimate fine commercial dealings are done, and never anything unsorted. Unsorted? 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 There's a word I'm looking for. If I haven't said it yet, I'll put it on screen. So they arrange the deal to happen at the food court. And Jarrett contacts me and says, hey, what do I do here? Like, should we get the police involved or what? And at this point, I'll mention that. So when the break-in happened, we were assigned like an officer, not an officer, a detective. So I go, well, yeah, we should meet him, but we should get the police involved, obviously. Like we should make sure that they're there, just to make sure we're safe, to make sure nothing goes down. So I call the Syracuse PD and I say like, hey, my store was burglared. I gotta stop saying the word. There was a burglary. I can't say the word at all. My store was broken into. Here's the case number. Here's the detective that's assigned to the thing. We have a really good lead. We're fairly confident that we have a lead on the guy who is trying to fence our products right now. We have a meeting arranged with him at the mall at, I think it was like 4 or 5 p.m. It was like 4 or 5. We have a meeting arranged with him. Can you send an officer? Can you get in contact with that detective? Like, what can we do? And they said, oh yeah, well, that detective comes on at 5. So you'll have to wait for him to come on at 5 and then call back. I said, like, we can't change, because again, this guy is already seeming like he's going to flake out. If we try to change the time, he's going to get that something's up, and he's not going to do it. We don't think. And so we said like, no, we can't change the time. The guy's already like seeming flaky. Like, we have a meeting at 4. Like, and it's like earlier in the day. It's like 2. We have a meeting at 4. Like, can you send an officer down here? Like please. Like, we only have the meeting at 4. No, you're gonna have to, you know. And I'm like, can you get in contact with this detective? He seemed very proactive in wanting to solve this case when we talked to him last. I know he's not on till 5, but like, can you get in contact with him and just let him know that like I called? And they're like, well, you can leave a note. And I'm like, is there anything you can do that's better than that? Like, please. And they said, no, there's nothing we could do. Sorry. Yeah, like, okay. And just to stop real quick, I'm aware that there is more serious crime going on in Syracuse than these stolen systems. I'm not pushing for a SWAT team or anything. I'm pushing for an officer, if at all possible. And I talked to Jarrett, and he's like, I really want an officer there. And I'm like, me too. And he's like, can you call back and like try a little harder? And I'm like, I try pretty hard, but I'll try again. I'll really try to get like see what I can do. So I called back and I explained again. I really think it would be useful to help solve this crime and pick up somebody who is trying to fence the products from a burglary, not just a theft, but a break-in. So he's like committed an armed crime already, a felony, and now he's trying to sell that stuff, another felony. I figured it was grand theft. It was high enough. Like, please, can you do it? And they're like, it's not like, we're not super swamped or anything, but like, we're not just going to send an officer out because someone asked us to send an officer out, like, unless something has happened. Like, you're going to go meet somebody, you don't know anything about it or whatever. And I'm like, we're pretty sure. And he's like, yeah, and if you get there and the stuff is your stolen property, call us back. Okay. I tried my best, but I couldn't convince him. So that was that. But we tried one more thing, because Jared and I were like, yeah, but they have like cops at the mall usually. Like, it's a big mall with a lot of stores. Destiny USA is one of the biggest malls in America. I think it's number 6 at that time. Who knows? I know at one point they were talking about maybe being like the largest or the second largest, something like that. It's a pretty big mall, surprisingly big for Syracuse. So I said like, oh yeah, sure. Like, I know, like, I'm from the Albany area and they have Crossgates Mall and there's like always cops there. Like, sure, they probably have like a station right in the mall. So I call and I explained the situation to them, and they said like, well, the cops do have like a station here, but they don't come in until like 5:30 or something like that. And I go like, you're saying you have like this huge mall where a lot of commerce, a lot of business happens, and like a lot of people come in, and they even have like it's big enough, enough commerce, etc., enough problems for them to have a station right in the mall, but they don't man it until 5:30. And now I'm thinking like, his like, this is common sense. Like, so yeah, if you're like a criminal and you want to do like crimes, Destiny USA before 5:30, apparently. Yeah. Anywho, so I said like, all right, well, you also have like mall security, right? And they're like, yep. I'm like, okay, well, at 4 p.m., can you make sure you have mall security in the food court? And they said, yeah, we could do that. Sure. Yeah. I'm like, okay, so at 4 p.m., you'll make sure that you have some mall security in the food court. Is that right? And they're like, yep, we will. I'm like, all right, great, good, I guess. I mean, it's better than nothing. Mall security.
Welcome to the show. Mount up. Oh yeah, that's a good stuff.
Sure, that'll go great for us. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So, and we really second guessed whether we should do any of this. And you know, if I had to do it again, I'm not sure I would make the same choices. I will say that. So we do decide to go to the food court. And part of the reason we decide to go is we figure, well, it's a very public place. It's kind of like when you list something on like Craigslist or something like that. You know, you meet at a public place and you assume there's not going to be any kind of violence because you're in a public place. Now, that might be foolhardy. We are meeting someone we believe is basically a felon. So, you know, if you want to point out that like that's not the brightest thing ever to do, yeah, I'm with you. So I am on the day in question. I'm working at the Manlius store, Voltage Video Games in Manlius. We had so many games that we had to open in Manlius. And now we're even open in Manlius. Manlius had only been open for like 6 months to a year. So we were still gaining customers. People are still finding us. And like, oh, when did this open up? A lot of people coming in. And on this day specifically, it was like Saturday, it was like unusually busy. And I was the only one working in Manlius. So it was like a day that I'm like, whoa, business, great. This is awesome. And I'm also like, but to go there, I have to close the store. Yeah, close the store. Shoot. Oh no. That's not a good first impression. And specifically, like what gave me real told me like, you're doing something stupid. Don't do it. Was that like, as I'm getting ready to like, I'm turning off the lights of the display cases, getting ready to like shut down the store. And I have like I'm gonna put up a sign that says like, hey, really sorry, we had an emergency, or whatever I put on there. We like unforeseen circumstances. We had to close today. We're really sorry. Like 2 customers in a row came in, both with like great trades, saying like, oh, this is our first time like ever coming here. Like this is, wow, what a cool store. And I had to be like to both of them, like, I need to close under really unusual circumstances. I'm so sorry. And I explained to them quickly, like, look, there's a lead on the break-in that just happened to our other store. I only have one shot at this. And they're like, they were, I remember them both being like understanding, but like, it's not a good look. And I had some real second thoughts on top of the other thing I just talked about, where we're going to meet a felon potentially. But like, is this really the best thing to do for the store? I really wasn't sure. Manlius. So I close up the store. I head over to Destiny and meet up with Jarrett, like outside the Best Buy, I think. That was our like designated spot to meet up. And we come up with this plan. The plan is Jarrett goes over and meets the guy. The stuff will be on the table and Jarrett will begin inspecting it. I told him to look for like our warranty sticker and like look at our stickers and try to get a sense of whether this was our stuff. Meanwhile, I would observe from a distance, make sure it seemed safe enough, and then I would come over and take a look at this stuff as well and introduce myself as, you know, Mike Salzman, owner of Voltage. Heard that you were selling some Xbox Ones. If that sounds like heartbeat moment, like ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. Yeah, definitely is. Definitely. I'm getting kind of nervous thinking about it. So we execute the plan. Jarrett's talking to a guy, got a backpack, little coat. See him pull out the Xbox Ones. I remember us looking, I remember looking for mall security. I can't remember if I saw them and I was like, oh, they're close enough, or I didn't see them yet. I can't remember. But I remember looking at the situation and being like, it looks like any Craigslist kind of deal going down. Doesn't look like anything special or anything particularly like threatening. So he's looking at the Xbox One and I walk over and I go, oh, hey, it's my buddy Jarrett. I'm Mike Saltzman. I own a little video game store called Voltage Video Games. I said I would come check out this stuff with him and tell him if I thought it looked good. And the guy didn't seem fazed when I said any of that. He's just like, okay. You'd think he would like have like an adverse reaction or something. Nope. He was either playing cool or he was just able to maintain his cool. I flip it over. There's our warranty sticker. There's our markings. Take a look at the other one. I'm like, yep, there's our warranty sticker. There's our markings. I just said, have you ever been to Voltage Video Games? And at this point, I remember now he looks nervous. Now he's like starting to like, hey, you know, what's this about? And I'm like, these Xbox Ones were stolen from my store. And he goes, I didn't steal anything. And Jarrett starts out like asking him questions, and he's not paying attention to me for a second. He's now talking to Jarrett, like, no, I got these from GameStop, blah blah blah. And as he's saying that, I snap a couple pictures of him up close, and he goes, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm like, I'm just, nothing. And I put my phone in my pocket to make sure it's somewhere safe, because I realize like, got some evidence on it now. And he goes, whoa, I don't know what this is, but I didn't steal anything. Like, well, these are our stolen Xboxes, so if you didn't, you should probably tell us where you got them from. He's like, well, no, I got them from GameStop. Like, I bought these from GameStop. What happened to the power supplies and everything? It's like, look, man, I got them from GameStop. I can prove it. Got them from GameStop. Like, they know me down there. I'm not getting a sense that I'm at like physical risk here. This guy's not super big, no weapons as far as we've seen. He's just trying to explain his story. And I'm like, wow, if I like, I'd love to get this story like recorded so that, when the cops, get here and whatnot, or when like this all like unfolds, like he's gonna have this story that he's gonna have to say, well, like he'll have to explain it away and he won't be able to. So he says, hey, I can prove it. Really? Let's go over to GameStop. I'm like, sure, let's hear the rest of this like nonsense story. Let's see what they say at GameStop. Like, and Jarrett's like, no, we should stay in the food court. Because like there's like there is like a mall security agent over there, kind of like not doing much, but like he's there.
Sir, I am warning, sir.
So I say, yeah. Jarrett says, don't really want to. And I go like, come on. Like, let's go hear this story at GameStop. So we're walking down, and it's still like public place, still in the mall, still plenty of people. So, and if he just like runs at some point, like that's even more suspicious, So we just have to get the detective down here later in the day. And the dude's done. That's what I think. So yeah, I left my phone in my pocket for the time being. And we begin to walk to GameStop. And while we're going to GameStop, he begins to repeat the story about how he bought the thing at GameStop or whatever, and they'll clear up everything for him. And while he does that, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna record it this time. So pull out my phone and I'm recording it as he's saying, like, yeah, so they'll be able to explain at GameStop. And he sees me pull out the phone and he's walking a couple feet ahead, but he turns back around, grabs the phone out of my hand and begins running. So he's running, but he's running with the Xbox Ones, which anyone that knows the original Xbox One, it's not a light console.
So, what are you trying to say?
It's not a small console.
He's trying to say that I'm so big, my bum is so big, you need to order to various countries far away.
It's not a console you want strapped to your back.
Enough material to make a pair of pants so I can fit my incredibly obese buttocks into a pair of your specially made little suits.
And definitely not two of them. That's a mistake. Here's my tip for anyone out there doing like the 500-yard run or any kind of sprinting. Maybe have the Xbox Ones in your backpack for when you're training, but not when you're actually doing it, because you won't win. So myself and Jarrett are able to easily catch him. Easily. And we grab him. Like, I remember grabbing the backpack, and it's like this huge weight on him, and pulling him down to the ground with that backpack. And Jarrett's kind of a bigger guy. I'm not super big. This guy is not super big either. But Jarrett pulls him to the ground and basically tackles him. I help him with that at first, but then I go for his hand, where I know my cell phone is. And I want my cell phone back, because it's got both the pictures and it's my cell phone. Kind of just want my cell phone back. That would be great. So I am like going for his hand, and he has a death grip on this phone. He's not, like, he knows this phone is his demise. Excuse my language. I'm gonna bleep that. Can I bleep that? I'll bleep that. That's it. This is his demise. And I am two-handed trying to wrench my phone from his hand. And I feel like his hand is trying to like smash it, crush it. And eventually I was able to, and Jarrett luckily was really holding him down. Eventually wrenched a finger, wrenched another finger, and got my phone free. I'm like, great, let's throw that in my pocket. Now I am, and you can see his like objective changes in that moment from crush this phone and don't let him get it, and don't let me get it, to now I should run. And so he tries to get up, and Jarrett's holding him down. Now I'm on top of him too, and kind of holding him down as well. And there is also, I should note, a crowd has formed a ring around these three people wrestling in the mall. And I am just hoping, I am hoping that someone in the crowd recognizes me and helps just hold him down. That's what I'm really hoping for. I figure, like, boy, there's like 50 people watching. And I was also at this point kind of shouting, this guy is a burglar, this guy is a thief. I said, like, call the police several times, call the police. And you know how there's that kind of situation where when you say, like, call the police, everyone's like, oh, someone else is gonna, one of these guys is gonna call the police. I'm sure the police are probably on their way. They've already been called. And I saw that kind of happening, like where no one was doing anything. So I like point out a guy. I try to break that. I think it's called like the bystander effect. Bystander effect? Yeah. Yeah. And so I point at a guy and I say, call the police. And I remember he was like, oh, I should call the police. And I saw him get out his phone and like dialing. So it turns out that a couple other people may have called the police as well because they got a bunch of calls. Go figure. Maybe, just crazy. Maybe they should have sent an officer down there. They went to the guy with the phone. Anyway, saw people calling the police. I'm hoping someone will help us. No one does. So, okay, that's probably for the best. Like, you probably don't want to intercede when you see random people wrestling in the mall or fighting, whatever. So we are restraining him, and we're using all our strength. And the mall cops get there.
Now, in the event that you approach an assailant, here's what I want you to do.
You're gonna pull up. Left hip forward, placing your right hand on your away hip thusly, giving the illusion that you have a gun, which of course we both know you don't.
And they tell us, hey, you gotta let him go. And we explain, no, he's a thief. He has our stolen property. Like, call the police. Let the police get here. Like, no. And they're like, no, you have to let him go. You're on our property. We're telling you to let him go. You can't restrain him here. We said, again, it's a felon. We're making a citizen's arrest. He's a felon. Leave us alone. And they go, we really need you to let it. Like, they just kept like barking that at us. Like, you gotta let him go. You gotta let him go.
But you know what we do have? Our voices! We have our voices.
Police will get here, but you gotta let him go. Like, if we let him go, he's gonna run off before the police get here. And that's what I remember distinctly. Jared said something to that effect. Because increasingly I was thinking, like, no, let him go. Doesn't matter. This dude's sunk. We got those pictures of him. Let him run. Doesn't matter. Like I think truthfully it's gonna be worse for him. Like, and that, like, I am still angry and pissed off. And my thought is like, dude, you want to be on the news with your face like plastered like everywhere as like the guy who broke into our store? Talk about punishment. This dude won't be able to show his face. If he went with the cops and said like, I'm gonna get a lawyer or whatever, it probably wouldn't make news. I mean, maybe like the tackling in the mall, maybe, but like it's much bigger news to have like tackled in the mall and got away. Here's his face. He's wanted for questioning. That's a much bigger story. We got the Xbox Ones. We got his picture. He wants to go run. Let him run. Let him go. Chick goes, okay, I don't want to let him go, but that's what you want. So I'm like, yeah, let's let him go. We let him go. And we say, but we're holding on to the Xbox Ones. Yeah, good luck with that. You can leave, though, if you want. But you should stay and wait for the cops to get here. And he got up like he wasn't going to run away. He's like, no, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. Dusts himself off. He's like, I'll wait. I'm like, all right, great. And then he starts kind of like walking back to the circle of people. Well, actually, sorry, not walking back. He walks kind of towards the circle of people. And he's just kind of like dusts himself off, kind of looking back, going, stretching, kind of adjusting his shoulder. And then he's kind of like taking a couple more steps. The circle kind of opens up a little bit. And he like walks to it and he kind of turns around like he's like just going to stand there and wait. And then he starts kind of walking backwards. And then he keeps walking backwards. And then he starts to turn. And then he starts to kind of start to jog. And at this point, we're following him now. We're like, where are you going, bro? I thought you were waiting for the cops. Come on, bro. Like, why don't you just wait for the cops? And so we start jogging after him. And as we start jogging after him, now he starts running. And he's much faster without the Xbox Ones. I know. Crazy. Much faster without the expert flow. So now he's running. He's not full sprint, but he's running pretty quick. When he sees that we're not like running after him, he kind of holds his pace. But he's running. So he runs off. And we're waiting for the cops. And we're exhausted. I mean, we've just been like wrestling some dude for like, I don't know how long it was. Like, it's one of those moments where like time slows down. But it was probably like at least 10 minutes of just like wrestling this dude. And the mall security is all around us. And from their standpoint, they're like, these guys tackled somebody in the mall. Cops need to talk to these guys.
The mind is the only weapon that doesn't need a holster.
What I did while this was happening, and they said that cops are on their way. But what I did was I called
Cha-cha-cha.
Oh, that's right. So I had the detective's number, but he wasn't answering because I guess it was before his shift. So I call again. Now it's like 5. So it's like beginning of his shift or right before his shift or whatever. So I call again and I get through to him. And he's like, I just got some kind of note to call you. Like he checks messages before his shift or whatever. It comes in early. Yeah, I just got the message. Like what is going on? And I go, well, we met the guy. He had our stolen Xbox Ones. He tried to steal my phone. We tackled him. We wouldn't let him get away without our phone, but he got away. The mall cops said we had to let him go, and the cops did not get here.
Our voices!
And he goes, oh, shoot. Okay, here's what you do. Call 911, say my name, explain the situation. They'll put out an ATB, and hopefully we can pick him up. And I go, all right, I'll do that. And he says, in the meantime, I'm heading straight there. Okay? Like, I'll meet you there. And I'm like, sounds good. All right, click. So this is not a phone. This is like not what a phone looks like anymore. Anyway, so I call back 911 and I go, hey, and I try to explain all the things. I say like, hey, so I just talked to the detective on my case. The case is this. Blah, 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 blah. Found the guy, tackled him, he got away. The detective wants you to put on an ATB, like immediately. And they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Say that again. I explained it again, slower, because I'm, heart's racing, all that. Blah, 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 blah. And they go, okay, we're sending officers to your location. I said, to my location? No, we need to put out the ATB on, I'll give you the details of what this guy looks like and whereabouts he was last seen so that you can try to catch him. And they're like, no, 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 no. You just said you tackled a guy, so we're sending officers to you. You can't just tackle people. I'm like, no, you're missing the point here. I tackled him because he stole my phone. He also happens to be the guy who broke in, committed a felony, burglary, at my store a couple days ago. The detective on the case, who is this detective that you know, told me to call, like, no, we're sending officers to you because you just told me you tackled somebody. I go, you guys are absolutely worthless. Click. Put together with the other stuff that happened here where we called them earlier, and the fact that they're just not there until like 5:30 because crimes don't happen at the mall before 5:30. Didn't you know that? It's just absurd. It's just absurd. And I'll note that the police had to like put out a PR statement basically when all of this stuff unfolded. because of how bad it made them look. A moment later, a downtown beat officer, who I do recognize, rounds the corner. First thing she says is, "Mike?" And I go, "Oh, thank God." Someone who, like, knows, like, that I work at Voltage and knows a little bit about, like, what might have happened. Like, she did know. She knew about the burglary. And she goes, like, "Oh, is this related to that burglary the other night?" And I'm like, "Yes. Yes, it is. We caught the guy and then had to let him go." And she's like, "Ah, shoot, I knew I got here too slow." Again. And at that point, like, the situation calmed way down. God, it just goes to show you, like, how invaluable it is to have police that are in and knowledgeable about the community around. If she had answered the phone on any of those calls that I made, it might have been a much different situation in a few different respects. So she puts out the ATB on the suspect moments later, once she has, like, a sense of what the hell happened. Oh, and then she said, like, "Yeah, let's get the camera footage from the store." And I go, like, "Well, actually, I got some really good pictures of him." And she's like, "Oh, really?" And I show her, and etc. The detective shows up. I show him. I re-explain it again. He goes, "I tell them, like, if it's important to just call me." Like, what? Like, important, like, "Hey, we have a really good lead and we're going to be able to go meet with him." Like, yeah, that'd be a good time to call me. So detective gets all the notes. He has me send him the clips I have and everything. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to record his nonsense story because the moment I pulled out the phone, he pretty much grabbed it before he spouted anything else. So we post his picture and that he's wanted by the police for questioning. And that we got our, I think he got more than just the 2 expert phones. Again, might have been a 360 in there. I can't remember. But we got most of our products back, or most of our items back. I post all that. It gets shared like crazy. It gets liked like crazy. Tons of engagement. Again, it ends up being kind of good for us from a marketing standpoint. So, for what that's worth. Again, would prefer it not to happen, but cool. And it's shared everywhere. And I start getting messages in like, "Hey, I know that guy. Hey, I see that guy every Saturday." And we later found out that, like, he was basically in hiding for like a week. It made news. His face was on every news channel. There was follow-up stories on both newspapers. The thing got shared tons on Voltage's page. And, Syracuse is a small enough place that if your picture goes up in all those places, people are going to recognize you and word's going to get out. So he ended up turning himself in when all the pressure was on. I think he realized, like, cops know who he is. Everyone else knows he did it. There was no choice but to turn himself in. So he did. And for the charges, there was an issue for the police detective and the cops kind of putting the case together. Now, I thought they had a really strong case, but what they didn't do was they didn't save the Craigslist ad, which we sent it to them. They didn't really, well, it's not that they didn't save it. They didn't really understand it. We said, like, well, it doesn't have his, they said that it doesn't have his name on it. I'm like, yeah, but it has his number on it. And they're like, yeah, but what does that really prove? And I'm like, it proves, like he listed it. Like, why would he, like, they didn't get it. They're like, well, what, like, I had to explain to them, like, what Craigslist was. I had to explain to them, like, like that. No, like they were like, well, there's lots of Xbox Ones. I'm like, yeah, but these have our warranty stickers on them, and they're we documented them. And they're like, well, we don't know if like someone sold them to him, and that's what he's arguing, and like his lawyer's really good. Like they're just like, we don't. They just couldn't put together the case, which blew my mind. Like they're like, if we could just get like his face in your video camera, then we could definitely prove it. And like, really? Like possession and like the number being linked to his Craigslist and him coming out and meeting us and him trying to steal my phone and him running, like none of that is enough to like get him. And they're like, what they told me was they think they could probably get him on a lesser crime. Like they think, but his lawyer's really good. His family apparently has money to hire a really good lawyer. So they're like, the lawyer's really good. And like of all the things to like spend our resources on, like, and they said that he and his lawyer, his team, his party, had offered to reimburse our store for all the costs. I went over last time how insurance like really doesn't cover the full extent. And it really doesn't in two regards. I won't go into the long diatribe I did last time, but in the two regards are like the hassle and annoyance and stress. Doesn't cover that at all. Never does. And that was definitely there. The other part is if they steal a lot of stuff, especially a lot of like traded in stuff, like you only get back the cost value, so you get really screwed over. Well, he was only in the store for a minute. So even though he took some high value stuff, he didn't take that much. Unlike the break-in more recently where they got a lot of stuff because there was no police response. That one was brutal from like a bottom line perspective. So this one didn't have that. So like the monetary cost really wasn't there. It was just all the headache and stuff. So I really should have asked for like, well, we want payment for like the stress and inconvenience. But regardless, like he offered to pay that. So they're like, we think this is pretty. Oh, and he was going on like some level of probation. So they're like, hey, it's probation. So if he ever does any new crime, we can charge him for this stuff again. I learned like not only has he moved out of the area, but police have called me from that new area. And I've seen news stories that would indicate that the person who broke in did not really give up his life of crime and may indeed be paying for it now. So there's that kind of closure. Yeah, in the end, we were made mostly whole. We got a bunch of marketing out of it, so that ended up kind of helping us, even though for years people would refer to us as that place that gets broken into a lot. I don't know if that's even true today. There's now been 3. One of them was the riot. But like, I don't know, we've been open for like a decade, you know, space that out. That's one break-in every 3 years, maybe closer to 4 years now. And that's if you count the riot. But yeah, we're known as that place that gets broken into a lot. And so the only remaining question really is, am I the Dark Crusader of the night? When a video game store is smashed, robbed, vandalized, will I be there in the night? I will, for I am the Saltsman. Until next time.